Explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. It's what we do each and every day here on the WDW Pro channel. We also try to bring you information that you will not get anywhere else. Earlier this morning, there was a rundown on the Lucasfilm lawsuit situation from Valiant Renegade. I highly recommend that you go check out that video. Link is in the description below. However, I want to bring some new stuff to the table that I think is going to be very fascinating for many of you out there. I don't know that this is known anywhere else, and we're going to dive straight into it. So, before we do that, click like, share, subscribe, and that notification bell, click it and stick it to the algorithms. We do covet your comments here, so please drop one down before you head out. And don't forget the WDW Pro live show. The Pro Show starts March 23rd. Those will be Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m. every Thursday. Past that point, we have an exciting video coming out tomorrow morning, Friday morning, which will be Melanie Mack joining the channel. We'll be talking all about the identity wars. All right, let's get into this. The lawsuit at Lucasfilm and what it means. The Acolyte, Leslye Headland, Kathleen Kennedy. This thing is filled to the brim with stuff, with excitement, but also a lot of disinformation already circulating out there on both sides. Let's take a look at what's really going on. First of all, I want to tell you that I spoke at length with a source this morning with major information on all of this. And so if you're wondering why is Pro running late, why is this, it's not quite 24 hours since it broke, but it's the day after. Well, where is Pro at? What's he doing? Well, I had to talk with some people. And, that's how we come out with the stuff we come out with here. That's why you come to this channel, to find out what everybody else will be talking about the next day. So to get started, I want us to take a look at the state of the TV industry during COVID-19, who's buying, and this is by the Tracking Board. Now, this is back from March 26, 2020, and it's a big deal here. I'm going to show you why. If we take a look at this Tracking Board that goes out for people inside the industry, and yes, you are getting to see something from inside the industry here. Take a look at what was going on March 26th of 2020. A&E, full steam ahead on development and production. Want to bring in pitches, blah, blah, blah. ABC, not really looking to buy right now. Still doing phone pitches. Animal Planet, hearing pitches via video conference or phone. Apple, hearing pitches via video conference or phone. BET, hearing pitches via video conference or phone. This is talking about pitches. This is talking about if you wanted to give an idea to one of these companies, one of these production companies, one of these studios, if you wanted to throw an idea at them, things had changed dramatically at this time. Remember, this is the beginning of all the calamities we went through. And so this was relaying to people inside the industry who was still taking these ideas and who was stopping. And you notice that almost all of these are hearing pitches. But if we go down to Disney Plus, this is key. You're going to want to know this. And again, who else is covering this? From Disney Plus during this time, not quote unquote officially shutting down buying, but acknowledging that they're far more focused on salvaging their current projects, may not be the best time to take projects to them. What this is talking about is that during the first months of the pandemic, Disney, with all their Disney Plus stuff, essentially shut down all the pitches that were coming into them. And it goes beyond that. I'm going to tell you something that can be verified by people in the industry, but I guarantee you've never heard this. You ready? During this time, Disney was so adamant, okay, we're not officially shutting down, but Disney was so adamant that they did not want to have to fool with pitches during this time that they actually, I am told, put out information to people inside the industry that if you pitched a show to Disney Plus during this time, they were going to blacklist you for a given amount of time. You were not going to be able to make any further pitches, make contact with them, nothing for a period of time. And we're talking about a while. And there are people, I'm told, that are still on that list to this day because they tried to pitch during a time when Disney Plus was not receiving anything. They didn't want anything. They were just trying to save their current projects. How about that? Okay? Now, why does that matter? At the same time that everybody in the industry was being told, do not pitch to Disney Plus. Do not pitch to Disney Plus. They will blacklist you for doing so. They are not taking pitches at this time. At the same time that was happening, at the same time that everything had been shut down in regards to new stuff for that streaming platform and for the studios that produce for it, Leslye Headland was hired, she being the former assistant to Harvey Weinstein, the scurrilous, awful, horrible person that many in Hollywood curried favor with, but who did things which are abhorrent and have put him in jail for probably the rest of his life. She, the assistant directly to him, make of that what you will, assume what you will as in regards to what she would know and what she did know. I will make no claims regarding that. I suspect that you can. But she, at the same time that all of this is happening, she is brought on by Kathleen Kennedy to run a show for Star Wars for Disney Plus, The Acolyte. And this, I'm told, by the source, created quite the stink at Disney. In fact, it infuriated the top individuals at Disney. It infuriated them at Kathleen Kennedy. It infuriated them at Lucasfilm. But it was yet another example of Kathleen Kennedy acting in a way that was not what Disney was interested in, was not in the interest of the company, and was not in the interest of producing a good show. There's no reason in the world that Leslye Headland should have been hired over others. And yet that happened. Now, I want to dive into what we've learned in this latest lawsuit. And that's the topic of today. The lawsuit centers around the Acolyte. It centers around Leslye Headland. It centers around Kathleen Kennedy. Let's get into this. Okay? All right. So, in the lawsuit that we have, it is in regards to a show codenamed Paradox. But that is actually the production name for the Acolyte. We now know from point 17 in this lawsuit that the Acolyte, remember this is separate from the Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni stuff, that's being run through Gollum Creations LLC. This is Lucasfilm proper. The Acolyte being ran through Lucasfilm proper, not Gollum Creations LLC, which is distinctly different in quality. But the Acolyte being run through Lucasfilm proper, as of 4/7/22, right? So as of April of last year, the Acolyte was planned to be a multiple season endeavor with a huge budget behind it. Now, the lady who is filing the lawsuit, Ms. McCarthy, is claiming that she was offered to be a major executive, a showrunner over this thing, that she turned down an offer from Apple, and that she then went to Lucasfilm. We don't yet know the full details of the contract. We're going to have to wait for some discovery to come out on that. And boy, does Lucasfilm not want discovery to happen. But what we do know is that she went to Disney, and within just a few weeks, she was gone without cause, is her claim. One of the interesting things about this is that when she goes to Lucasfilm, she joins a production company for Paradox, right, which is the Acolyte. And the production company is called Blue Stockings. And there's going to be some more on Blue Stockings in the future. You just wait. I'm going to be covering Blue Stockings Incorporated, which is the official production company on the Acolyte. Get ready for that coming up. Let's just say, though, Blue Stockings goes more into the depravity of everything about this. On page 20 of the lawsuit, we find out that the Acolyte is planned to be 40 minutes plus per each episode. We also find out from page 27 of the lawsuit that the production is a high budget production. So we're assuming now that at minimum, this show was given a $50 million budget, probably higher, just based on that alone. Now, why does all of this matter? because now that we also know that they've been doing filming of this for months, and given the information out of the lawsuit, we now know that not only did Kathleen Kennedy hire someone at a time that Disney had officially said they were not going to be hiring anybody, not only did she hire someone with a scurrilous past, but then she gave this person, Leslye Headland, she gave her a huge budget for a huge show that really is in production, and it's planned for multiple seasons. Remember, Disney at the top didn't approve this. Disney at the top didn't want this. This is Kathleen Kennedy doing all of this. You put the pieces together and figure out why she's doing it. But she does all of that. And then it seems like not only did the unethical actions there that wasn't the end of it, but they were doing things, and we've seen this before at Lucasfilm, right? We've seen them slime the fans. We've seen them slime actors. We've seen them slime directors. But in this case, seems like they slimed Ms. McCarthy. All right, let's read now from an article by Jonas J. Campbell over at That Park Place and see what he has to say. I'm actually pulling this from our internal side right now. The folks over at Lucasfilm have moved on from just being unprofessional and devious to fans, directors, and actors. Now they're going after showrunners. Something is rotten at Lucasfilm. In-demand television producer Karen McCarthy filed suit on March 7th, 2023 against Blue Stockings, the production company and entity in charge of Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland's long-discussed Star Wars series, The Acolyte. The suit alleges that Lucasfilm courted Karen McCarthy to be a producer in mid-2022, with full awareness that McCarthy was also in negotiations with the production team behind Apple's Sugar, starring Colin Farrell. According to filings, Apple offered McCarthy a lucrative deal that would have made her their highest-paid producer at the streamer. It is well documented that Apple has a voluminous war chest of funding to dabble in television, so McCarthy's deal was most likely very high dollar. Just in case you're wondering how badly they treated this woman, allegedly. While most figures are redacted from the filing, the assumption is that McCarthy was offered a dollar amount that was high enough not only to woo McCarthy away from Apple, but also to convince her to move to the United Kingdom for several years. According to the filing on April 7th, 2022, Lucasfilm and McCarthy, this is key here, reached an agreement that was acceptable enough to move forward as specific items were put in writing. That's key. An email from Candace Campos, Lucasfilm's vice president of physical productions, to McCarthy's agent David Morris stated, "We really want to make this work," as McCarthy traveled to the UK and began working on the series. When production started on April 22nd, McCarthy was informed that Lucasfilm wanted out of the deal and that her services were no longer required. In short, she was fired after 2 weeks. The production of Apple Sugar had moved forward without McCarthy, and a replacement had been found. McCarthy had now missed out on 2 lucrative employment opportunities that could have provided abundant residuals for decades. If you just think about how wrongfully they treated this woman, if the allegations are true. And by the way, if this gets to discovery, we're going to find out all kinds of things about Lucasfilm that we have suspected for a long time. It's probably not in Disney or Kathleen Kennedy's interest for this to make it that far. However, let's just say that a bastion of virtue, Lucasfilm is not. The lawsuit filed in the Los Angeles Superior Court states that when McCarthy requested payment for her work on the series, Lucasfilm offered her $5,000 for just a single day's work. By the way, that is what we call spitting in the face of someone you've wronged. This presumably low payment is what most likely precipitated the lawsuit and a listing of grievances implying a malicious and negligent pattern on Leslye Headland's part. Additional details from the filing include the Acolyte was prepared to be a multi-season, high-budget production, still is, by the way, and that episodes would be greater than 40 minutes long. Star Wars is a special effects-driven franchise, so a large portion of that budget would have likely gone to post-production and likely still is. As Star Wars fandom continues to divide, the show has a roster of recognizable talent, including Carrie-Anne Moss from the Matrix franchise, and it goes on. You can see the official synopsis there. So let's get to the bottom. Fervor against Kathleen Kennedy and Harvey Weinstein's former assistant Leslye Headland is high, as interest in current productions of Star Wars at an all-time low. The Walt Disney Company's Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser was so unpopular that offerings were just cut in half. The last Disney Plus Star Wars show, a spin-off series featuring Rogue One supporter character Cassian Andor, barely registered in viewership. All right, so what does all this mean? Well, we've got a situation here where The Mandalorian is trying to get ratings. The only thing that seems to be getting any traction with Star Wars is the stuff that's being produced by Gollum Creations. That's Jon Favreau's outfit. And at the same time, we've got Kathleen Kennedy seemingly back up to the same old tricks again. We believe skipping by, based on our sources that have given us this information, skipping by the usual chain of command and the usual protocols at Disney, not heeding the directives of the Disney company, hiring Leslye Headland, a lady who has a scurrilous past that may intersect in some ways with other individuals in Disney leadership. We'll leave it at that. Giving her a multi-season, high-budget show, and all of this then continuing to further the unethical actions, allegedly, of Lucasfilm. They seem to have a real struggle with treating people in the right way. And the buck has to stop with Kennedy. She's at the top. When you hire people who are bankrupt in terms of judgment, when they're bankrupt in terms of character, then you're going to get these kinds of things where other people with power are hired and treated extremely poorly. We've seen this in the past. And here's the bottom line. Well, there's two bottom lines for this. One, how much longer will Lucasfilm enjoy the goodwill of other creatives before they say, I am never going to work for that studio? It is a hive of vitriol and toxicity. And two, how long now until this sort of thing, this kind of poisonous stuff, begins to crash the last remaining vestige of popularity in Star Wars, that being The Mandalorian? This is a bad time for Lucasfilm, but it is deserved if the allegations are true. And it's a real bad time for Disney because they have got to clean house. This is enough. This is enough. Clean it up. All right, folks, if you like content like this, click the like button, share, subscribe, notification bell, click it and stick it to the algorithms, drop a comment down below. And don't forget the Pro Show starts Thursdays, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. March 23rd is the debut. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.